Hey y'all. So I juiced every day until 5 for 3 days last week as a fast. And honestly, I think middle of the second day was the hardest for me because I think one of my juices was bad. So I ended up pretty sick for a few days. And honestly, I'm just like getting my strength back because I hadn't really been feeling too good. But let me tell y'all how God answers prayers. Like a lot of things that I had been praying about, I I was just praying about it and not really being intentional, and I needed to do a reset to spend some time with God and to just recenter and refocus. But since then, God has been giving me message after message after message, and I just feel really encouraged in my spirit that I'm on the right path. Like I've gotten so many downloads, and I'm just really excited for what God is doing in my life. I already shared the message that I got earlier today as I was encouraging my own child. But there was something that happened on Saturday. So I am a firm believer in watching my words and being intentional with the things I say. And if I say something that doesn't align with what I'm wanting to convey, I try to go back and correct it as soon as possible. So I was at my line sister's baby shower, and happy homecoming, by the way. So I was talking about the dunks that are coming out tomorrow. And I just so happened to mention, I'm like, I always get my sneakers off of either the sneakers app or Foot Locker. And I mentioned that usually every time I enter a raffle, every release that I want a pair of shoes, I usually win. And and I was like, I think of all the raffles I've done, I may have not won like maybe one or two pairs of shoes. And ironically enough, me saying that and just, elaborating and talking about like the process I've taken. Like, one, I have so many points because I'm buying shoes for me and my son for Foot Locker, so I have head starts. But with the sneakers app, it's just, honestly, it's just completely random. And so I've definitely won a lot of raffles on the sneakers app. And sure enough, there was a raffle at the baby shower. And literally, maybe only 5 to 10 minutes before I mentioned about me winning on the raffles for sneakers, I ended up winning the raffle at the baby shower. And what I took from this, maybe no one else took it from me, but I took from this is just the power we have in our words. And in fact, I think one of my line sisters was like, didn't she just say that she always wins raffles? And so it was just that powerful, me speaking into existence. I always win the raffle. And how it manifested, how it showed up just in that instant as an example of that. For me, it was convicting, a very convicting reminder to be intentional with my words, to make sure I'm speaking life, to make sure I'm speaking faith, to make sure I'm believing and trusting and resting in what God has said. To make sure that I'm not allowing fear to come in, which has been a big lesson for me this year. God has really been uprooting fear from me. I mentioned to you all, like, my word for last year was heal. So God was healing me in my relationships, healing my mind, healing my body, because I was dealing something physically with the hormone issues. And this year was a continuation of that, but it was more so focused on inward healing. And one of the biggest areas and opportunities that a lot of us have for healing is in our words and how we speak. Are you speaking from a place of faith? And I have been trying to be very intentional, especially over the last, I want to say, 4 months, about how I speak, making sure that I am not constantly saying negative things or putting negative words and notions into the atmosphere. I take to heart what God says in the Bible, that we're created in his image. And if we're created in God's image, that means just as God spoke and things came into existence, we have that same power as well. The Bible tells us that God said, let there be light, and light came. God said, let there be birds in the air, and, land and waters to separate the skies and all of that. and those things came into existence. So if we're created in God's image, then that means we have the power and the authority given to us from God to speak things as that are not as though they were. That's the definition of faith. And it really makes me think about a lot of the things that I've complained about in the past and how I missed opportunities to operate in faith. And I just want to be very careful. Like, Saturday was such a small thing on the grand scheme of things. But when I think about my life and all the things that I've been able to achieve by the grace of God, all the things that I've experienced by God's grace, everything that I've spoken and said that I wanted to do, that I believed was part of God's divine plan and purpose for my life, I've achieved. I said I wanted to have a career. I wanted to have a job where I could travel and I didn't have to pay for anything and I could take my son. One of my jobs afforded me the opportunity to go to Australia for 2 months, and I took my son with me. That same job allowed me to travel all over the country for weeks at a time. It allowed me to take my child with me back to Charleston, which wasn't too far from home. It allowed me the opportunity to just go places I like to go. Like I spent a lot of time in New Orleans for one project. I spent 3 months in Charleston for a project. I mentioned I was in Australia for 2 months. That is a direct reflection of me praying and believing and standing in faith that that was something that God wanted for me. I also prayed that I would work for a major tech company. I had the opportunity with that same job. I prayed, and I am living in the middle of this right now. I prayed for a remote job so that I would have more time to spend with my son. I work remotely every single day, and I worked remotely every single day since March 9th of 2020 when the pandemic began. So I have very tangible examples all over my life. I spoke in 2019. God had already put it in my heart that it was time for me to plant roots somewhere. But I said in 2019 that I wanted to buy a house and get settled so my child could have a backyard and play in. And I am sitting here in the midst of this house that I prayed for. I literally everything that I believe that God called me to do, those prayers have been answered, and I've already achieved those things. I knew from the time I was 18 I was supposed to write a book. I successfully published my first book in 2018 when I moved back to Atlanta. I knew I was supposed to move back to Atlanta. It didn't happen for 10 years, but I moved back to Atlanta. So all that to say, our words are so powerful. And I really took Saturday, that small thing, as a major reminder just how powerful our words are and how even more important it is to be speaking with intention and with authority and making sure you're operating in purpose. Not saying that God won't bless those areas of your life where you're not operating in purpose, but I want God's blessing in his hand to be upon everything that I touch and everything that I do. And if I don't see his blessing on it, I recognize that that's not necessarily something from God. That's something that I was trying to force. And the converse of that is sometimes God will give us those things that we're praying for that he was trying to protect us from. I've had that happen as well. And even in the midst of those situations, God still blessed me in the midst of it. So all that to say, be intentional with your words. Be faithful with your words. Like, be a good steward over your words, making sure that you're saying things that aligns with God's will and purpose for your life, making sure that you're believing God to bring about the things that he's given you in your dreams, making sure that you are in agreement with God's purpose and plan for your life. Like, there is no way that, absolutely no way that I'm talking about me winning raffles. I can't even say bless. I can't say look. It's definitely favor. It's definitely a blessing for something that I like. I like sneakers. I've liked sneakers forever. I used to work at Foot Locker when I was in high school and in college. I've loved sneakers forever. And God allowed me to be able to win those opportunities so I can get the things that I want. If he shows up and about some sneakers and about me winning a raffle the same day at the baby shower as proof of me saying that I've I win raffles all the time. That just shows me it's so much power in what we say. And I don't want to waste any more words on situations, on things that I'm not supposed to be putting my words on. I want to operate in faith and excellence in every area of my life, and especially as it concerns those things that God has called and purposed me to do. I don't want to procrastinate. I want to move forward, and even if that means doing something afraid, which I did something afraid. I went to Australia with my not even 2-year-old by myself, afraid for 2 months, and my mom did end up coming out like our last 2 weeks. But I took my child to a whole nother country, 16 hours away. So all that to say, use your words wisely. Be a good steward of your words. Operate in faith, walk in faith, believe that God is going to show up and show out for you, and trust and rest assured that what you're speaking is going to come back. Your words are seeds. So sow faith-filled seeds, sow faith-filled words. Speak in faith, speak in love, and make sure that everything you're doing is what God called and anointed you to. God may not call you and anoint you to do something that he calls someone else to do. Yes, we all can have similar purposes and assignments, but make sure that you're in purpose. And if you don't know what your purpose is, of course, seek God. And I still have my blog and the prayer page. So if you need prayer, you can submit it anonymously. All this to say, use your words wisely, speak in faith, trust and believe that God is going to show up for you. And when you speak with authority, speak with faith, and let that move you along the path and trajectory of whatever God has called you to do. That's all I have. Bye.